going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a vinyl haul showcasing my vinyl finds from my record store hunt within the areas of Connecticut and Boston while I celebrated my 27th birthday. So on Friday, September 13th, I celebrated the Big 2-7, and the running gag that I've been going with is that I'm doing everything that I can to not join the club. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. All dark humor aside, though, it was an absolutely fantastic birthday, and what made it truly special is that my girlfriend, Abby, planned a very awesome trip to Boston, as well as a stop in Connecticut. We stayed at the fantastic Verb Hotel, which I recommend to any vinyl enthusiast or music lover. Each room comes with its own turntable, so you can play some records, and there is some cool rock and roll memorabilia to feast your eyes on. And of course, to tie it all in with the celebrations, we stopped at a bunch of record stores along the way. And let's face it, if you're a vinyl collector and it's your birthday, that just means it's an excuse for you to justify your vinyl purchases. And believe me, I filled my DJ bag full of amazing finds between both areas, and I figured it was so awesome and worthy enough to give it its own video. So enough of the chit chat. Let's jump into what this video is all about. So the first shop that we stopped at was Static Era Records in Milford, Connecticut. A cool little small shop, but to be quite honest, it felt a little bit empty, and that's why I kind of started off this trip on a lighter note, because the only record that I picked up was the Black Crowes Waiting and Waiting 7-inch that came out from this past record store day. This is the main single off of their brand new album, and it does come with the song Morsels for Mongrels, which is a non-album B-side. I figured I've been meaning to kind of tap into the full-length album, but I figured just for a start, this 7-inch will do just absolutely fine. I kind of meant to snag this a little bit after record store day, but I just have never come across it. So it was kind of one of those things where, like, I wanted it, but also just for the sake of leaving with something, I did manage to snag at least something from Static Era Records. And also, there was a really cool decorative bench at the front of the store, and of course, I had to leave my mark by leaving a Record Spinner sticker there. So technically, the next store we were supposed to check out was Elm City Sounds in New Haven, Connecticut. But that store, along with every other store in the area, closed at 6 o'clock. And we found ourselves right around 5:30 in the middle of a very rough traffic jam, which was essentially the intersection from hell. This is the best way to describe it. You had one-way street going this way, another one-way street going the other, and you had to stop at stop signs before you were to enter either. So you can imagine at 5:30 rush hour traffic how that was going to go down. But we did not give up. So we decided to trek up an hour up north to Torrington, Connecticut to check out Revolution Records. And this was honestly a blessing in disguise, because that long drive enabled us to kind of take in the great Connecticut sights. And when we got to the store, I saw a Kiss Destroyer poster on the door. Now that right there, in my book, is a good omen. Walked in, it was an absolutely fantastic shop decked out with all kinds of cool t-shirts and posters of sorts. And when I saw the bootleg box sets lined up against the wall, that's when I knew what I was getting myself into. I kind of freaked out more because I saw the Kiss Chronicles from the Elder box. Yeah, I already had that in my collection, thanks to Brian's Kiss vinyl. But I saw this bootleg box set on the wall. And when I just saw those, I knew what I was getting myself into. And it got more expensive from there. So I picked up Pink Floyd From a Vantage Point, Philadelphia, 1971. This was recorded at the Irvine Auditorium in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on November 12th, 1971. So this was just shortly after the release of Metal. This was also after they had done Live at Pompeii. Honestly, anything that has anything to do with the city of Philadelphia, I always gravitate to, just because where I'm based at in South Jersey, Philadelphia is just an hour away. That's like the biggest, closest city to me. So it was really cool to find a cool Pink Floyd Philly connection with this release. But also, it's metal era Pink Floyd. You have Embryo, Fat Old Son, Set the Controls, Atom Heart Mother, Cymbeline, Echoes, One of These Days, Saucerful, Careful with That Axe. I'm a sucker for old school Floyd, and this box set is a very lovely edition. This is put out by Godfather Records. And as you can see, it is limited to 250 copies. This is copy number 59, and it is on orange vinyl. Most definitely an audience source. I'm sure it's pretty decent enough to put out a box set of this sorts. But as for actual sound quality and what's inside, I'm going to have to save that for the Pink Floyd bootleg haul. You'll have to wait and see for that. But this is a little teaser, I guess, of what's to come. So I managed to leave with a cool Pink Floyd bootleg box. And then, actually, that same day, I saw the announcement early on that there is going to be the Queen debut box set / remix. So I was on very much of a Queen kick, looked in the Queen section, and I found a cool piece of early Queen history. Another sort of bootleg / gray area legal kind of release. And this is a release called Queen in Nuce, whatever you want to call it. This brings together a lot of early sort of pre-Queen tracks. So obviously, Brian and Roger were in a band called Smile, which didn't really take off. There's some of those tracks on here, such as Step on Me, April Lady, Polar Bear. Then there's the Freddie Mercury, Larry Lyrics tracks, Going Back and I Can Hear Music. And then there's the track Mad to Swine, which was recorded for the debut, was left off, but it's appeared as a B-side. They included it on deluxe editions, and they're integrating that track into the track list of the debut when that box set comes out. So it's a cool little interesting sort of early Queen piece of history right here. So I figured this would be a very cool addition to the Queen collection. Jumping back into Floyd territory, this is one that I kind of had seen online a little bit, and I just kind of thought that it was old enough to where I wouldn't see it out in the wild, but sure enough, Revolution Records delivered. This right here is called Pink Floyd More Depuis Encore Depuis. So this right here is a collection of various offcuts and live tracks and things centered around the More soundtrack album. You have a live version of the track Nightmare from Amsterdam 69, which is a radio broadcast. Green is the Color from the BBC in 69, Seabirds, Hollywood, which are outtakes from those sessions, an alternate version of More Blues, alternate version of Main Theme, some remastered versions of the Nile song, Spanish Peace Crying song, Cymbeline from Winterland from 1970, just kind of a random sort of comp of tracks, from this 1969 period. Otherwise, a very cool one to have. And then took a look at the almighty Led Zeppelin section, and Abby actually decided that I should pick this one up just down to the cover. And I had known that this was out, but once again, I thought it was too old, that it would be a little hard to come by. But I snagged Led Zeppelin Storming the Big Apple, and this was recorded at Madison Square Garden on September 19th, 1970, and this was the afternoon show held at 2 p.m. This is a Casino Records release, limited to 200 copies. This is copy number 71 on yellow vinyl. Solid set list all around. Immigrant Song was working its way in early. Dazed and Confused, Bring It On Home, That's the Way. Bron Rar, which is a cool live version. Thank You. Word About Jimi Hendrix, so I can assume that this was shortly around the time that Jimmy had passed away. Moby Dick, Whole Lot of Love. All the usual Zeppelin standards. I'll kind of dig more into this release on the next sort of bootleg haul of sorts to come. But that right there made Revolution Records, I think, the best store of the entire trip. The next store we went to was Red Scroll Records in Wallingford, Connecticut. This is when we got on the road on our way to Boston. And let me tell you, if you love crate digging, Red Scroll is the store for you. The store looks like it's within like a sort of airplane hangar, and there are just bins and boxes and tables full of stuff to the point where it almost felt overwhelming and I didn't quite know where to start. If you have most of the day free to do some record digging, Red Scroll is the place for you. It's absolutely amazing. And I found some very cool stuff. Keeping it in line once again with the Pink Floyd boots, I found Interstellar Overdrive, Maximum Freakout. I've seen this on Discogs a lot, and I've been meaning to get my hands on this, but it was always kind of pricey given what it is. And what this is a sort of compilation of various versions of the track Interstellar Overdrive by Pink Floyd. That was the back when they were playing the UFO Club in London. That was like their psychedelic freak out sort of jam. And what we have here is we have the mono LP version, the stereo LP version, the French EP edit, and take 6, which is 16 minutes 40 seconds, the long version. So it's a lot of Interstellar Overdrive. So if you're a Syd Barrett era diehard, something like this is worth exploring. I just think it's rather intriguing, but also Pink Floyd is second for me next to Kiss. So I absolutely had to get this. And Red Scroll, I think, probably has the single best section for XTC. You just don't see too many XTC records, wherever you go. And they were also priced very inexpensively. Their reissues can be a little pricey, ranging from like 35 to 40 bucks. I found this for 31. And this was one of the big ones that I was missing. And that is Oranges and Lemons. This was kind of when they continued that sort of sophistopop kind of sound that they sort of started to explore on the previous album, which was Skylarking. That one has Dear God, Grass, Meeting Place, all that stuff. On this, you have things like Mayor of Simpleton, King for a Day, among others. I have been needing this in my collection, and for 31 bucks, 2 LPs, it's absolutely essential value. Nice gatefold jacket, back cover here, filled a massive hole in my XTC collection, so very cool stuff. And then here is a record that I've kind of been on the hunt for a little while. I don't know if it's out of print or they're just not pressing up many more copies these days, but every store I go to, I always look for this record, and I never find it until now. And that is a band called Cults, and this album is called Static. This came out in 2013. This is the recent RSD Essential pressing, which came out just this past year in 2023. I really wanted this album because it has this track called I Can Hardly Make You Mine, which plays during the end credits of the 2013 Carrie remake. It's such a really cool song. And then Abby is also a fan of the song Always Forever, so it kind of kills two birds with one stone. I was looking for it for one purpose, but yet she also likes the track, so in the collection it goes. And this comes pressed on a gorgeous piece of marbled blue vinyl, and it also does come with some other bonus tracks that are not featured on the original pressing, so I was very happy to find this much needed album for my collection. Once Abby and I got to Boston, we checked out Village Vinyl and Hi-Fi, which was in Brookline, Massachusetts. So that was kind of like within the Boston metro kind of area. That shop in particular was really, really solid, curated nicely, very well organized. And the room next to it was the Hi-Fi room, which had a bunch of old receivers and amps and such. As much as I love looking at those bits of equipment and also knowing that they are up for grabs, it's almost like a museum seeing them all in one place. So just, it kind of added to the charm of the shop, which had some pretty bitchin' vinyl. Now, I was bound to get some King Gizzard at some point. I'm still beefing up the collection, and I picked up Polygoned Wannaland. Now, this is the free album. So for those that are not aware, King Gizzard released this album as a public domain sort of album where any label and anybody could make a copy of it and not go through all the legal loopholes and things like that. But in turn, there are tons, and I mean tons, of variants of this album. And I'm not of a collector of the extent to snag every single one or multiples. I say that now. I don't know what's going to happen. But I figured just to save my own sanity, I went ahead and picked up this version, which does use the standard artwork. But this was put out by Flightless and ATO. Flightless was King Gizzard's old record label, and ATO had put out several of other King Gizzard albums prior to this. So I figured it's in the official vein. I don't have to go nuts getting whatever variant is out there. This does come with a cool insert. Here you have Stu kind of just doing his thing right there. Lyrics on this side, which is pretty cool. And the hype sticker said that this was pressed on 4-way colored vinyl. And I was kind of curious what that was. And then I saw it and I was like, holy shit. So you basically have red across on the main strip, like horizontally, and then vertically you have blue and yellow. So it looks absolutely stunning. And hell, not too bad value for like 25 to 30 bucks. Because if you see a colored pressing like this, you would think it might be more, but not the case at all. So glad to have some King Gizzard, more Gizzard in the collection. Then I took a look in the Velvet Underground section and I came across this cool little oddity that kind of sits well in between the self-titled and Loaded albums. And this is a collection called Velvet Underground 1969. So this has various recordings and outtakes from the sort of self-titled kind of period. You have original mixes of Foggy Nation, I'm Sticking With You, Andy's Chest, and then you have some 2014 remixes of We're Gonna Have a Real Good Time Together, Coney Island Steeplechase. You have original mixes of rock and roll, Hey Mr. Rain, Beginning to See the Light. So it's kind of like assorted recordings from that period pressed on 2 LPs. So it's almost like, I don't know, self-titled, 2.0, almost 1.5, however which way you want to look at it. Really cool to get this Velvet Underground record in my collection. Next up is an album that I have been curious on for a long time, and this was one of those cases of right price and right time. This was the cheapest I had ever seen this album, for 20 bucks. And it's funny, the photo that I shared on social media of me in front of Village Vinyl, I was holding this particular album in my hands. And that is Leafhound, Growers of Mushroom. Now, Leafhound is one of these albums that's kind of regarded in the world of sort of psych rock, proto-metal, kind of in the same vein of like what Black Sabbath was doing early on, as well as Deep Purple, kind of laying down that hard rock, heavy metal sort of foundation. And everywhere that I've read, this album has always been mentioned, which has made it almost essential listening for me to check out at some point. And it was always like a $35 album, 40 bucks or so. But hey, 20 bucks, you really can't go wrong with that. So I was very happy to find Leafhound for 20. Then I also found a cool Ramones bootleg. This is live at the Old Waldorf in San Francisco on January 31st, 1978. Essentially, if you love the It's Alive album from the Rainbow in London, then you will absolutely love this radio broadcast. This has been kind of one of those releases that sort of seeped out in the gray area market with some various, dodgy pressings. But this one, I believe, is like a true bootleg in a sense. There's no barcode. There's no nothing. Also does come with a cool sort of poster promoting the show. You get the Rocket to Russia cover along with the show details on the bottom. But yeah, like I said, if you love the It's Alive album, it's basically that set list crunched onto one LP. And it's a cool little piece of live Ramones to have in the collection. And the next shop that we went to was called Looney Tunes in Allston, Massachusetts. With all due respect, this shop looked like a bomb shelter. Records upon records upon records everywhere. But there was also a very cute store cat who was very friendly and he was rubbing up against my bag of records. And in terms of regular 12-inch, LPs, I found one really cool thing. This is one that I've been also kind of been on the hunt for a little bit. It's like, it's been out for a little while and I've always been able to get it, but I just, I always waited on it. It's always one of those ones that I'll get later and later. and that is the Jimi Hendrix Experience live at the Los Angeles Forum, April 26th, 1969. I kind of more or less picked this up because there was supposed to be that Electric Lady Studios box set that was supposed to come out on my birthday, but apparently it got pushed to October. So I kind of fulfilled the Hendrix fix and picked this up instead, which is a great 2 LP set. This is also the very first pressing, just because it is indeed numbered just above the barcode. Does come with a cool booklet of liner notes and photos, all that good stuff. Presta quality record pressings. You know, the Hendrix stuff is always great quality, you know, regardless of what it is, studio or live. So I was happy to get this. But I fared out very, very well with the 7 inches. Shockingly so, because I don't really go nuts over 7 inches too much. I just prefer albums and such. But I hit pay dirt 7-inch wise with this particular store. Now, obviously, because we were in Boston, just a little side note, Abby and I did make the pilgrimage to Commonwealth Avenue, which is most commonly known as the Aerosmith apartments, where they lived on the 2nd floor during their first couple of years of formation. And that right there was great. To me, that's like the same as going to 10 East 23rd Street and seeing the old Kiss loft in New York City. And I kind of made a promise to myself that I wanted to leave with some Aerosmith vinyl in Boston, just because it's home turf for them. And I did manage to find this cool 7-inch of Falling in Love Is Hard on the Knees, which is a single from the 9 Lives album. But also what's kind of cool with finding this is that this came out in 1997, which was the year that I was born. So year I was born, 27th birthday, it all ties in. Also, I did end up purchasing the Aerosmith Pump colored vinyl pressing when I was at the pub that night. Afterwards when they announced it. So technically I bought that in Boston as well, but I bought the 7-inch too. So found this. Then I found this cool little promo only Beatles 7-inch. This was from when they put out the On Air Live at the BBC Volume 2 release. And this 7-inch features Words of Love, Please Mr. Postman, I Saw Her Standing There, Do You Want to Know a Secret, and Boys. And like it says here, for promo use only, not for sale. So got to do some background research on this, but I saw it and I thought, hey, this is pretty cool to have. So happy to get this cool little Beatles promo 7-inch. Then I found this cool Stones one. This is an EP that's essentially all covers. You have Bye Bye Johnny, Money, You Better Move On, as well as Poison Ivy. Comes on the sort of blue Decca label right there, as you see. I just thought it was interesting. I figured I would check it out. Then David Bowie, The Stars Are Out Tonight, and this is backed with Where Are We Now. These 2 tracks appeared on his Next Day album from 2013, where Bowie kind of dropped this album as a surprise after a little bit of a long absence. And this is pressed on white vinyl, and it was still sealed. I had never seen this out in the wild, so I figured 2 of the most solid tracks on the record, have them on a 7-inch. You can't go wrong there. Now, here is where the real gems lie with my 7-inch finds. So, Looney Tunes, outside of Third Man Records in Nashville, had the best Jack White Third Man Records selection I had ever seen. They had vault releases. They had 7 inches. They had regular 12-inch releases. They had everything. And I was talking to the shop owner, and he was explaining that there was a local resident who was a massive Jack White junkie. And he had passed away, unfortunately, and he had acquired this collection. And he had it all over. He had it in a box of, like, other 7 inches. He had a red and white sort of swirl 7-inch case that opened up, and there was more stuff inside. There was just everywhere. And I was just, like, in the zone. I'm like, all right, what don't I have? What are duplicates? Like, how do I do this? So I think I managed to snag all the pieces that I know for sure I did not have. And some of these are UK imports. Some have never been reissued by Third Man. But also what's cool with some of these is that the guy that had this collection kept the original receipts from when he purchased them at like Newberry Comics, like back when they first came out. So inside, I'll show them to you. There's receipts that say like $2.99, $3.99 from like 2005, 2006. It really adds to the charm of these pressings, and so I am going to keep them that way. But we have a little bit of a mishmash of everything. So we have some White Stripe 7 inches. Here is one for the Denial Twist from Get Behind Me, Satan. And sure enough, I was just talking about it. Here is the receipt for that. $6.99. And this is also an English import just because it does have the Made in England sticker on the back. Here is a sealed, you don't know what love is, you just do as you're told, 7-inch, sealed in the sense that you have to break the seal that's over the top opening, still intact. This is the album version, backed with an acoustic version of A Martyr for My Love for You. Now, this one's kind of relatively common, I just didn't have it. This is Fly Farm Blues. This track is featured in the It Might Get Loud film. And what's cool is that it's a single-sided 7-inch. And you have the sort of third man emblem etched on the backside there. So that is really, really cool. Moving onwards with some more White Stripes, we have a live version of the Denial Twist, backed with As Ugly As I Seem Live, another English import. Then we have Blue Orchid, backed with The Nurse, UK import. And we also have... This is My Doorbell, another English import with a live version of Same Boy You've Always Known. These Get Behind Me, Satan 7 inches have not been reissued by Third Man, and I don't know what the holdup is. They could have very well easily done it. But actually, you know what? Wait, they'll do it next year for the album's, 20th anniversary? You wait and see. But very cool to find nonetheless. And then I found some Raconteurs 7 inches. We have Broken Boy Soldier, backed with Heading for the Texas Border live version. Here is the acoustic Steady As She Goes, backed with Call It a Day. And then we have Hands, backed with It Ain't Easy, a live rendition. So that right there was some solid 7-inch scores from Looney Tunes. And once Abby and I made our way out of Boston, we decided to stop over at the Natick Mall in Natick, Massachusetts, which was about 20 to 30 minutes out from the city. Kind of found ourselves back in suburbia, which is very comfortable territory. And the main reason why we wanted to check out that mall was because there was a store that funny enough, I just mentioned when I was talking about the 7 inches, called Newberry Comics, which... I had never been to a Newberry Comics before, but I had almost worked in an environment similar to it because I used to work for FYE, and it was very much a little bit of everything. We had music, we had films, we had pop culture stuff, we had anime, and all this stuff. And it was basically that on steroids. But the cool thing is that they still teeter on the indie level because they do also take part in Record Store Day and they have a bunch of their own exclusives. So I kind of made it a point to get only Newberry Comics exclusives with the exception of one little record. But what did I pick up? Going on about Gizzard again. This is King Gizzard live in Adelaide 2019. This is one of their exclusives, and this is also part of their official bootlegger series, where it's basically soundboard audio and different labels can put it out. This was put out by Needle Juice Records, and this exclusive is limited to 600 copies. And this is pressed on amazing splatter vinyl, which looks absolutely cool. Overall, each record is like a blue hue, and then there's like pink, green, and yellow splatter, I believe, on each LP, or consecutive LP, I should say. Nonetheless, happy to beef up my King Gizzard Live collection more, and it's absolutely killer. So happy to have this. Then I picked up this record, which I have been not holding off on, but I'll explain why I'm almost late to the party with getting this. It is the soundtrack to The Dirt by Motley Crue. Now, I really was on the hunt for the original pressing that had the slipcase cover, that had the actors, dressed up as Motley Crue, but that they don't make it anymore. So it's just only this version. And I opted for the Newberry Comics exclusive, which is indeed pressed on black and red split colored vinyl, which looks absolutely great and obviously matches the color scheme of the artwork. So I was very happy to snag that. And the last little piece that I picked up was the 7-inch of Jimi Hendrix Angel. Now, apparently this came out for Record Store Day 2022. I had no idea that this had ever come out. And it's funny because it says on the back that the version of Angel is taken from Electric Lady Studios' A Jimi Hendrix Vision. Now, apparently, this box set dates back to around 2022, and this is the box that was supposed to come out on my birthday but got pushed to October. So, in some ways, I thought this was kind of fulfilling some sort of like a fix of sorts to get that Hendrix stuff. So, between the live LP that I showcased earlier and getting this cool Record Store Day leftover, which is pressed on white vinyl, I think I made out all right. So there you guys go. That is my vinyl haul of all my vinyl finds from my record store hunt in Connecticut, in Boston, while I celebrated my 27th birthday. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.